Okay, reading from the Caitanya-bhāgavata. I think it's chapter 8. I really am not sure, but Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya bhakta-nātha, bhakta-vaśa, bhaktera jīvana, bhakta-galā, dhari, prabhu, karena, rodana. Lord Chaitanya, who is the Lord of the devotees, who is controlled by the devotees, who is the life of the devotees, cried as he embraced the devotees. Om Jnana Timirandasya Varanjana Shalakaya Taktur Unmulatam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is Lord Chaitanya. He's already in Puri. This is the Antya-lila. And Antya-lila generally means the last 18 years of his life. I believe it was 6 more with the public and 12 more. I have to, which way that is. But it's the Chaturmasya, the 4 weeks of the rainy season. It's the 4 months of the rainy season, and in that agrarian economy and with the pious regular rains, really rains heavily during the rainy season. The work basically shuts down, and it's also cosmologically a time for spiritual practice. I always say that times of the day, times of the year, times of the month, times of the year, times of pilgrimage, and times of the life, vanaprastha or sannyas. But here it's times of the year, and that type of culture was practically 4 months of the year. And I know for Gaudiya Vaishnava sannyasis, it was for Gaudiya Vaishnava sannyasis, it was at least a month during Kartik. Madhavatiti Bhakti Janani. Bhakti Janani gives birth to devotion. These times and these days and these months where there's that absorption and concentration, not mixed with other activities, which we may have to do to labho jiveti yavataha, to keep the mind and body together. But those activities that we do to keep the mind and the body together, we don't have to do that all day. And in fact, we don't have to do it all month. And we don't have to do it all year, and we don't have to do it for our whole life. So here, these are people, these are mostly Dvaita Charya, Grihastas are coming. And Vrindavan Das Thakur is describing the glories of what I call these spiritual all-stars, these pure devotees. It's just an amazing phenomena, that kind of Sanga and association. So wonderful to dedicate your life to Krishna, whatever it is. It's wonderful to do it part of the day. It's wonderful to do it part of the year. It's wonderful to do it part of the month. And it's wonderful to do it part of your life. But so it describes here Lord Chaitanya in relationship to the devotees. And of course, whether he's in the role of God or he's in the role of a devotee loves God and loves those who love God. And God and loves those who love God. So Lord Chaitanya, whether he's God or in the mood of the devotee, he loves those who love God. If he's in the role of God, he loves those who love him. And he's the role of a devotee, he loves those who love God. So therefore he says, bhakta-nātha. Nātha means controller, but in this type of language, it's not an exploiter controller. It's a refuge controller, so to speak. Nātha. Interesting how different words get impregnated with different types of meaning in different types of culture. Bhakta-nātha. And I always describe, I remember in Govardhan, I go through one building, it's on the main road. I think it's somewhere near Giriraj Mishnan Bhandar, the sweet shop. And I read up in Sanskrit, it says anatta laya. Laya means the place. Anatta means where there's no controller. So, wow, hey, that's great. Wow, a place where there's no controller. That's great. But what is it? It's an orphanage. Is that great? You don't have parents. So Lord Chaitanya is not bhakta-nātha or yeah, he's not bhakta-nātha. He's not not the controller, not the refuge, not the Krishna-mata, Krishna-pita, Krishna-dana pran. It's not. He's not that he's not the controller. He's not the Lord. He's not the master. He's not the shelter. And bhakta-vaśa, but it's just sort of bhakta-nātha, he's the controller, but bhakta-vaśa, he is controlled by the devotees. He's the controller and he's controlled, just like a mother. She is the nātha, she is the shelter of the child, and she's also the vasa, she's also controlled by the child. And that's the nature of love. That's the nature of love. That's what makes God the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That he doesn't, as Prabhupada said, I can repeat it many times, he doesn't have the defect of impersonality. He doesn't have the defect of impersonality. He is loved. He loves his devotees because his enjoyment is love, and you enjoy love most from those whom you love. And therefore you enjoy love most from those who love you so much that you become their servant. Their desires become your controller. The child is the controller. I want food. The mother moves. I have to go to the bathroom. The mother changes the diaper. I need shelter. The mother comes. So it's so nice. Bhakta-nātha, bhakta-vaśa, and ultimately bhaktera jīvana, who is the life of the devotees. Your love is your life, because that's what life is for. We are made for love. Rasa Vaisaha, that's the ultimate reality. So bhakta jīvana, he's the life of the devotees. In the Kali Lila, we see that. He's the life of the devotees. He's the life of the devotees. And we see that. Govinda Varahena Me, Lord Chaitanya, in the mood of a devotee. In your absence, the world becomes vacant. It's the mood. That's the mood of love. And we see that even in relationships in the material world. And therefore, because of bhakta-nātha, bhakta-vaśa, bhaktera, jīvana, bhakta-galā, dhari, prabhu, karena, rodana. And therefore, he cried as he embraced the devotees who are coming to see him. There was really strong emotion. And strong emotion, either in sadness or happiness, generates tears. So out of happiness, it's so, just imagine the emotion of Lord Chaitanya as he sees the devotees and he embraces the devotees. He sees the devotees, he embraces the devotees. Jagannatha Devera Agyaya Sekshana Sahasra Mala Aila Chandana. By the order of Lord Jagannath, sandalwood pulp and thousands of flower garlands were brought there at the time. So love is expressed. This is a point I explained. What is Srimati Radharani? Mahabhav Swarup. She is the form of the highest love, and therefore she's the best in all her qualities. And when we have love, we offer the best. That's why you have deities. It's a real opportunity to love by offering the best. And when you don't have love, it doesn't come out so beautiful, and the offerings are not so fine, and the flowers are not so beautiful, because you want to offer the best. So, but who is offering it to the devotees? Lord Jagannath. And how? Through the transcendental system that the will of God becomes manifest through the devotees. Krishna manifests his will through the devotees. Therefore, when someone dies and he's surrounded by the devotees, it's considered that Krishna himself came there. Krishna himself came there. Agyamala Dheki Harshe Shri Granga Rai Agre Dilashri Udhoita Singhera Galaya. Seeing the garlands sent by Jagannath, Lord Gaurasundar became very happy and first garlanded Sri Advaita Acharya. He became happy. Why? Because love is happiness. And by the mercy of Lord Jagannath, he could offer something, not only garlands, but garlands that are prasad, garlands that are the tadiya, they're the mercy of God, they're the pleasure of God. And therefore, when we accept them, we are happy ourselves because they're an expression of love. Like you go to the Krishna Balaram Mandir during a festival, they have the most exquisite flower arrangements that you can imagine. Even they have this thing on the water where they can make mosaics in the courtyard filled with water by strings and flowers. It's beautiful. And it's just everywhere there's flowers. And when you walk in there, you feel this love of Godhead. You feel this love because it's expressed. Anyway, these are points I've gone over many times, but we can understand them. Sarva Vaishnavera Anga Shri Haste Apane Paripurna Karilena Malaya Chandane. The Lord then garlanded and applied sandalwood paste on each devotee with his own hand. So this is like Puri. And even when you're in the winter, it's very hot in Puri. We go in the winter. It's quite pleasant, but you definitely during the day, it's definitely up to 90 at least. And you can bathe in the ocean. And basically what we're seeing here, and it's hard for me to too much philosophize about it because I've done this so many times. We're just relishing rasa. We're just relishing the love that's expressed. And hopefully we feel it because that's the purpose. I'm writing a Monday morning greeting, how bhakti works. And it works by absorption in the object of love. You feel that love. And absorption means that you remove the covering or the obstacle to love, which is selfishness or the false ego. And when that absorption increases by the faculty of love, then the energy of love between the devotee and the Lord becomes even more powerful. So when this is described, so I was describing, and I have made this point many times, I know, because I'm looking at the names, I see who's there, I see my audience, I've explained this so many times. So I guess we're just going to have to relish it without too much of a philosophical explanation. But the purpose of these literatures, or the way Lord Chaitanya showed us to become absorbed in the holy name of Krishna, is develop our love or relationship with Krishna. And therefore we have a relationship with the person whose name we're chanting. And that energy of emotional connection, the most consummate emotion, which is love, or love of Godhead, it focuses us on the name. And we feel the pleasure of that connection, the pleasure of love. So the way Lord Chaitanya taught us to do it is not just chanting, but chanting and reading, or chanting and hearing. Because the hearing transfers, especially Rasa Shastra, poetics, drama about Krishna. The Bhagavatam is perfect Rasa Shastra. When you hear it, it's not just an intellectual experience. It's impacting you with the expressions of emotion, which is devotion. So that's what's happening here. That's what these books were for. Seeing this display of the Lord's mercy, Dekya Prabhura Kripa, Sarva Bhaktagan, all the devotees, Bahu Tila Uchai, and they raised their hands, Karena-khaṇḍa, and they raised their hands, all the devotees, seeing how the Lord was just exchanging with everyone. The devotees raised their arms and they cried loudly. And then they asked for a benediction. But the real benediction that the devotee asked for is service. He doesn't ask for anything for himself, because his pleasure is bhakti, and bhakti is the pleasure of the object. Your happiness is the happiness of the person whom you love. So it's a benediction you're asking to be, but what's the benediction you're asking for? It's not for yourself. I always describe that devotee, because I'm looking at audience. Everybody's heard all my story. That devotee in Mayapur, when George Harrison came and asked him to, he was the amazing gardener, and George Harrison asked him to come and do his estates. And I was there as George Harrison asked him, and he was a beatnik, and he said, I got a devotee, but from that culture, I got bucks in the bank and grapes in the cupboard, and the only thing I could ask for is more service. So the devotees held the lotus feet of the Lord and asked the following benediction: may we never forget you, life after life. That's our benediction. Our faith, our reason for serving is our conviction intellectually and emotionally of the value of serving Krishna. And that connection, that faith, that understanding, that taste, that impels us further in our practices. But it recedes when it's not exercised. And it's so easy for us to forget it. It's so easy for us to forget it. So easy. Unless, just like in the vows of chanting, one thing I tell people, and I think I got it from Vaisheshika Prabhu, is that priority. You move your life around your chanting the holy name, not your holy name around your life. So somehow or other you organize in that way. Otherwise, so many things. I think there's a book by Steve Covey, a great kind of intellectual, wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he wrote a book called First Things First. And he wrote the book First Things First. He described, the activities that are most important in one's life are the ones that are important but not urgent. Developing relationships, educating yourself, taking care of your health, It's never urgent that you have to do it now. But he described that successful people make appointments for these activities so that the passion and urgency of life just doesn't suck up all our time, including the activities that are not urgent and not important, like social media, not urgent, not important. So I say it again, social media, not urgent, not important generally, or at least 90% of it's not. And it'll fill up our time. Netflix, not urgent, not important. So many other things, not urgent, not important. So that benediction, not to forget you afterlife, because that remembrance is what awakens our soul to our eternal nature. Ki manusya pashu pakshi hoy yatatata tomara charana yena tekiye sarvata. Wherever we may take birth as human beings, animals or birds, we always see your lotus feet. Evara deha prabhu karena sagara parapadma dhari kande shaba anuchar. O Lord, O ocean of mercy, please give us this benediction. I want to remember, I want to remember, I want to remember. The devotees cried out in this way as they held the lotus feet of the Lord. Vaishnava grihini yatapati vrata gana dhure take prabhu deki kariye krandana. The chaste wives of the Vaishnavas began to cry as they stood gazing at the Lord from a distance. So Prabhupada said, we can't be sannyasis as the day of yore. Never go back to your village, your home, your parents. Never wear shoes, wander in the forest. And not even speak to a woman. The chafe, so the culture, they stood pativrata, chaste. They stood gazing at the Lord from a distance. Tan sabara prema dhari antanahi bhai sabi Vaishnavi Shakti Veda Kichinoi. There was no end to the affection for the Lord, for they were all expansions of the Supreme Lord's internal Shakti. Jnana Bhakti Yoge Sabe Patir Samana Kohiya Achena Sri Caitanya-bhāgavata. They were all as good as their husbands in knowledge and devotion. This was the verdict of Lord Chaitanya. Both knowledge and devotion, they were just equal. Although there was some distinctions for social purposes. Emata Vajya Gita Nitya Sankirtane Ailena Shabai Chalaya Prabhu Sane. In this way, all the devotees entered town with the Lord while singing, dancing, chanting, and playing musical instruments. Entered town with the Lord while singing, dancing, chanting, and playing musical instruments. Because I think I know where they came in. It's on the other side of, or maybe it introduced Indradumna Sarovara. Anyway, all the way on the other side, to come in from wherever they came in, but just boom, the kirtan just comes in. Whew. The kirtan. A kirtan that blows the mind of King Prataparudra, who's seen hundreds and hundreds of kirtans. But he when he saw this kirtan, he just said, I've never seen anything like this. It wasn't just a musical talent, but it was the Shuddhanam. It was the pure chanting, where that name is a full manifestation of God in his open heart towards his devotees. Hena sahoila prema bhaktera pakas. Hena nahi deki yara nahoy ulas. There was such a manifestation of ecstatic love that not even a single person was unhappy. You know, you can see also the bhav and the ecstasy of Vrindavan Das Thakur in writing this, because it's amazing what he's doing, because practically every single word, somehow I'm not a Sanskrit or Bengali scholar, he wrote it in such simple words that I practically read it without the English translation. Nahi deki, yar, nahoila ulas, would be unhappy, nobody. Nobody. Wow. Oh, now I see Lord Chaitanya met them way out, 4 hours out at a Taranala. Hoite, Dasa Danda Hoy, Mahaprabhu Alina Narendra. Mahaprabhu led them from Taranala to the bank of Narendra Sarovar in 4 hours. So when they came in to the area, Lord Chaitanya was there, but it was still, and you see, they were walking the whole way. Now when they meet Lord Chaitanya, and Lord Chaitanya heard, and he went out to see him, and they greet them, and then they're all coming in to the whole thing by kirtan. I remember when we used to greet Raghunath's group at the MVT, and I would have people there with garlands just like this, and the kirtan, and they would come in by kirtan, and we joined the kirtan. Hena Kali Rama Krishna Siyatra Govinda Jalakeli. Hey, Haribo, Haribo. Jalakeli Karibari Ayala Narendra. At that time, Balaram, Krishna, and Govinda, the Vijay Vigraha, arrived at Narendra Sarovar for Jalakeli, performing water sports. Haridwani, Kola Hola, Madanga, Kahala, Shanka, Bedi, Jayadhaka, Bhajaye, Vishal. There was tumultuous vibration of the chanting of the holy name, mixed with sounds of madanga, conch shells, kettle drums, and other large drums. So I guess in this, we're just supposed to develop a visual of this to help us remember Krishna and at the same time inspire our devotion for his names. But it's a kirtan coming in, and midangas and drums and there's kettle drums and midangas and other large drums. And the devotees are garlanded and they have sandalwood paste. And it's such a loud, loud vibration. Oh, and the small deities of the temple are greeting them, the Vijay Vigraha. So dancing and singing and drums and And Sahasra Chatra, thousands and thousands of umbrellas, Pataka, just like Jaya Pataka, victory flag. Pataka, there were flags, Chamara, and there were Chamaras. Chaturdeke Shobha, and the scene, Kari Parama Sundara, it was so beautiful from all four sides. So it's the kirtan and the drums and the singing and Lord Chaitanya and the sandalwood pulp and the women are crying on the outside. And the drums and the kettle drums and other drums and conch shells and midanga and singing and dancing and umbrellas, thousands of umbrellas and flags and chamaras. Maha Jaya Jaya Shabda, Maha Haridvani, Tabhai Ara Kona Shabha Nahi. No sound can be heard other than the loud chanting of Jai, Jai, and Hari, Hari. Rama Krishna Sri Govinda Maha Kutahale Uttarila Ashisha Be Narendra Kule. In this way, Balaram, Krishna, and Govinda, the Vijay Vigraha, were brought to the bank of the Narendra Sarovar with great pomp. So the small deities of Krishna and Balaram, these small deities were brought, and the procession is coming from Ataranala, and the procession is coming. Jagannatha Goshti Shri Chaitanya Goshti Shane Misaila Tana O Bulila Sankirtan. So the associates of Lord Jagannath, his servants, and the servants of Lord Chaitanya, Goshti Shira, Goshti Shane, they mix together in that kirtan, and everyone forgets themselves in the ecstasy of kirtan. Dui Goshti Ekohoi Ki Hoila Anand Ki Vaikunta Shuka Asi Haila Murtiman. Such happiness was experienced when the two groups joined together that it seemed as the happiness of Vaikunta had appeared in person. Chaturdiki Lokera Ananda Antanai Sabha Karena Karayena Chaitanya Gosai. Lord Chaitanya personally enjoyed endless happiness and distributed that happiness to everyone in the four directions. Rama Krishna Sri Govinda Utila Nokaya Chaturdike Bhakta Gona Chamara Dulai. Balaram, Krishna, and Govinda were then placed in a boat while the devotees on all sides fanned them with chamara. So now the deities came, and they're in the Narendra Sarovar, and all the devotees came. And they already had bath and water festivals, and there's chamaras, and there's flags, and there's umbrellas, and there's kirtan, and there's ecstasy. Rama Krishna Sri Govinda Nokaya Vijay Dekya Santosh. Seeing that, who's seeing that? Lord Gauranga seeing that. Dekya Santosh, he felt satisfied. Sri Gauranga Mahasaya, the great Lord Gauranga, seeing this, felt satisfied. Prabhu O Sakala Bhakta Laye Kuta Haile Janpadiya Padilena Narendra Jale. When the Lord and his devotees all joyfully jumped, then the Lord and his devotees all joyfully jumped into the waters of Narendra Sarovara. Shunabai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Avatar Ye Rupe Narendra Jali Karila Vihar. O brothers, now hear the pastimes performed by Sri Krishna Chaitanya in the waters of Narendra Sarovara. Purve, Jamunaya, Yena Shisha Ganamale, Mandali, Hoya, Karilena, Jal Keli. Previously, the Lord and his cowherd boyfriends formed circles and enjoyed water sports in the Jamuna. In the same way, the Lord and his devotees now form circles in the water by holding each other's hands. Goradeshe Jalakeli Ache Koyanam Se Jalakrida Aram Bilena Pratame. They began their water sports with one well-known Bengali water sport named Koya. The Vaishnavas called out Koya, Koya. They clapped their hands in the water and produced musical sounds by hitting the water in a certain way. The devotees became absorbed in the mood of the boys of Gokul, and the Lord accepted the mood of Krishna, the Lord of Gokul. So somehow or other, banging the waters, there was a sport or something. I don't know how it works, but some sounds are there, and overwhelmed in ecstasy, the devotees forgot everything and fearlessly splashed water on the Lord. Lord Chaitanya and Advaitacharya began by splashing water in great sport on each other. While forcefully splashing water in the eyes of each other, sometimes Advaita would be defeated, and the next moment the Lord would be defeated. Nityananda Gadadhar Shri Puri Gosai Sai Tina Jana Jala Yuda Kari Harinai. Nityananda Prabhu, Gadadhar, and Puri Goswami all began water fights with one another, yet none of them were defeated. Datte Gupte Jala Yudha Lagi Bara Bara Paranande Dui Jani Karena Hunkara. Mukunda Datta and Murari Gupta had repeated water fights in which they shouted loudly in ecstasy. Dui Shaka Vidyanidhi Sarupa Damodar Hasya Anande Jal Dene Paraspara. The two friends, Pundarik Vidyanidhi and Sarup Damodar, smiled as they splashed each other in water in ecstasy. So I don't want to make a stupid joke, but this seems like real clean fun. Get it? Water? Okay. Okay. Srivasa Sriram Haridas Vikreshwara Gangadasa Gopinath Sri Chandrasekhar Emata Anyonye Dana Shabajale Chaitanya Ulase Shabe Hoila Vivale Srivas Sriram Haridas Vikreshwara Gangadas Gopinath and Chandrasekhar all became overwhelmed in the ecstasy of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes as they splashed water on one another. Sri Govinda Rama Krishna Vijaya Nokoya Laksha Laksha Loka Jali Harisha Vedai. Hundreds of thousands of people in the water took great pleasure as Balaram, Krishna, and Govinda, the Vijay Vigraha, rode in a boat. Sannyasis, brahmacharis, and householders all sported in the waters of Narendra Sarovara and floated in the waves of bliss. The influence of Lord Chaitanya is such that less fortunate persons could neither see nor enter that place. Those who are less fortunate cannot be counted among the associates of Lord Chaitanya, who is controlled only by devotion. Knowledge and austerity have no value without devotional service. They bring only misery. So this is another point that I made 1,000 times, that we have a false ego, and the false ego wants to take even our good qualities and use it in the service of giving us the sense what they're the enjoyer and controller. And therefore, even bhakti can be an impediment in devotion if you start to think that I'm better than everyone or anyone. So you're saying less fortunate people don't have access to this, and now this great scene, and now why? Things have no value without devotional service. That's the whole story of the wives of the Brahmins. Not the wives, but the Brahmins. Their wives took the mercy and the Brahmins didn't. And then when the Brahmins saw the elevation of their wives, they said, to hell with everything else, our austerities, our celibacy, our learning, our cleanliness. To hell with all of it. If dharma swanushti ta pumsa vivik sena katasya nopadiye yadiratim shraba shrama eva hake. It's only useless if it doesn't give you joy, it doesn't give you devotion, it doesn't give you rati. Vyas went through the whole Vedas, but he wasn't happy because he hadn't sufficiently glorified Krishna. It didn't give him devotion. And it brings only misery because happiness is devotion and misery is no devotion. Sakshate tekaha ese nilachale etaka chaitanya sankirtana kutuhale. One can realize the superiority of devotional service by the blissful Sankirtan pastimes of Lord Chaitanya in Nilachala. All the so-called Mahajans and sannyasis weren't able to see such pastimes because they were less fortunate. They would say, why did Lord Chaitanya leave the study of Vedanta to make a big show of kirtan? Persons who study Vedanta are always peaceful, forgiving, self-controlled, and free from dualities, false ego and false sense of proprietorship. The duty of a sannyasi is always to practice pranayam, but he's dancing and crying instead. Is this the business of a sannyasi? The best of sannyasis, how we would say, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahajan. Sri Krishna Chaitanya is a Mahajan. Some persons will call him a Gyani and some persons will call him a great devotee. In this way, they would praise him without knowing his real identity. In this way, all the Vaishnavas enjoyed sporting in the water with the Lord. Lord Chaitanya and his associates enjoyed the same water sports as they previously enjoyed in the Jamuna. The same mercy attained by the Ganges and the Jamuna was now attained by Narendra Sarovara. All these pastimes were performed to deliver the living entities. By hearing and studying these topics, one's bondage to fruitive activity is destroyed. After finishing his water sports, Lord Chaitanya went with his devotees to see Lord Jagannath. Okay, Jamuna Jaya. What point did you appreciate today?
Well, Maharaj, so many wonderful points. I love the good, clean, fun joke. That was really wonderful.
What?
I said, I love the good, clean, fun joke. That was very wonderful. Yeah. For some reason, one of the things, many things stuck with me, but one of the things when you were saying that the sadhus had water sports and everyone won. And it wasn't because it seems when they weren't playing from the material world, I'm going to beat you and I'm going to beat you. Everyone won. And that's the way to play. Somebody in a class once pointed out how cruel that game of musical chairs is. You know, I never thought about that, but you're asking kids to like shove somebody out of the way so you can sit down. And so that point, because I'm around children all the time, as you know, so that point about, and everyone won, that's what everyone wins in devotional service. So I really appreciated that.
That's the whole thing, because everyone can be the servant of God and only one person can be the enjoyer and controller. So if the idea is to be the enjoyer controller, then not everybody's going to be happy, and no one's going to be happy, because if you're not the enjoyer and controller and you temporarily get that position and identify with it, you become disconnected from the soul. Just a save the date, but probably I'll start in a few days. We'll probably have another retreat in Puri around Janmashtami time.
Ooh, wow.
And hold Janmashtami. Not Puri, excuse me, Kali. And we'll hold the, it's not finalized, but it's in my mind, it's in Shyam Sundari's mind. But I'm seeing there's some good response to it. Quite a few people are interested, and I haven't even put it out there yet. Okay, anybody else like to say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Speaking of musical chairs, Adipurusha Prabhu once told me that he got kicked out of kindergarten because he didn't want to play that game anymore. He thought it was too cruel. First time he did it, Adipurusha Prabhu.
He's such a saint, right?
he played it the first round, and he made a girl cry because he took the last chair, and I think kind of knocked her down. And so the next day when the teacher wanted to play it again, he refused. And then all the other kids in the classroom joined him because he started a musical chairs revolution. He got kicked out of kindergarten.
Adi Purush is such a saint. He's such a saint, you know?
Yes, yeah, that's where I heard it. Thank you, Gail. That's where I heard it. It was Adi.
Okay, good. Those who don't know Adi Purush, he's the saint of First Avenue. 24 hours a day engaged in Krishna's service. Always out on the edge, you know, never knows where it's all going to come from. And he feeds all the poor people in Washington Square Park with fantastic food. So he's an amazing soul. Anybody else like to say hello?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, Tota Gopinath here.
How about Tota?
Haribo.
Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for class.
Haribo, wait 1 second there. I can't see, Braja.
Oh, yeah. Oh, very nice.
This is the box.
Yeah, beautiful.
Wow. Yeah, it's really high end. Yeah. Okay, just it's between me and Braja. No one else knows our secret here. Okay, I just wanted to show you. It's
yeah.
Okay, if it works, you'll see.
Yeah, great. Okay, thank you.
Very cool.
Okay. Anybody else like to say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Sundari.
Haribo. Jai.
Yeah, thank you very much
for the
class.
Thank you.
Your altar looks great. Wow. Love it. Okay, Haribo.
Thank you very much.
Sri Radhika and Yabit Sundari. Wow. Wow. Okay, Haribo. Good. Anybody else? Okay. then I'm going to head out for today. I see all the lists. Thank you all for coming. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhayeva cha patitanam